Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Jungle TV show with yours truly, Lyn-Dee Eldridge. And today I am really excited to bring to you a woman who has come into my spectrum. And number one, I want to give out thanks to her. She's a veteran for us for the United States. But more importantly, how much she is making a difference so much with people that have had a troubled past, whether they're ex-offenders or juveniles that are really challenged with their past. She helps them have a brand new life. Of course, that's a willing matter. Everybody has to be willing to be able to change and to become a better person. But I am so excited that CeCe is with us today from South Florida, because she truly does make a difference and a change in people's lives. So with that being said, would you all help me welcome CeCe from South Florida? CeCe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. It's a real pleasure.
CeCe, I am so thrilled, because what my show is all about is to make a difference in people's lives, to help our audience realize that there is hope and there are ways that they can better their lives, no matter what their past is, that they could change it. All they got to do is just step up to the plate, raise their hand and say, I want more in life. So yeah. I can't wait to give you the floor and to hear, number one, share with us about your past. And how did you become involved with living the passion of helping those that had a dark past have a brighter future?
All right. So like you said, I am a former U.S. Marine. And right at the end of my career, I made some really bad decisions, like one after the other after the other. And I ended up in prison for drug conspiracy. And it wasn't until I was leaving and a guard just pleasantly said to me, "See you soon," that I even realized that I had a choice. You know, I don't know what I was thinking was going to happen. I really wasn't thinking at all. And so when she said that to me, it suddenly made me start thinking like, okay, I need to make some better choices or I'm going to end up back here. So that's how my journey started.
How long were you in prison?
I was in prison for 2 years, and I served almost a year in solitary confinement.
Wow, I can't even imagine that. Thank you so much for seeing the light of change, not going back to the dark, and now you're helping other people really live in their true purpose, not in the purpose of where they fell short of. So thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I feel so heartfelt right now. You are blowing me away. And I want you to continue to share with other people, how can they get on the path of good?
So in this area of re-entry, as I like to call it, you know, there are people who are there to prevent people to go into prison, and there are people who minister to people when they're in prison. What I really focus on is your mindset when you come out of prison. And I deal one-on-one, giving people hope, letting them know that, hey, you can clean up your record and you can live a different type of life if you choose to. But the choice comes from within. And so it's a lot of one-on-one conversations, a lot of conversations where I'm not gentle and I'm not kind. I'm just telling them like it is. Now, for one issue we always talk about or disagree on is the whole gun issue. People want to know, why can't they have a gun? It's their constitutional right. Well, no, because that puts you on the fast track to going back to prison. So it's just not an option for an ex-offender.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. So it's really helping them change their mind of thought.
Correct.
What they feel is right and what is how do you really want to live in society? You know, when we live in society, there is no logical rule, is what I'd like to say. You know, you came from a very hard past. I came from a very hard past. There is no logical rule except for fitting into society the best way that we can. And we have to learn how to do that. That's a learning process. And learning how to change and learning how to accept change is very, very powerful. Can you touch on that?
Well, you know, going back to the whole gun situation. So inevitably, guys will tell me the reason they need a gun is to protect their families. You know, they want to be there for their families. And I tell them, like, listen, I can tell you what every woman wants. And they go like, really? I'm like, yeah, I can tell you the big secret. We want you at home. We want you to be at home at night. You know, we don't care that you've got a gun and that you can come out like Rambo. We want you there at night. We want you to eat dinner with us. The kids want you there. And so you can protect your family best by being there with them, teaching your sons and your daughters how to read, you know, that kind of stuff. Eating dinner with them, showing them what family life is, and not be away, as we say. You know, every time somebody says, oh, my dad or my mom is away, they mean they're in prison. That's not right. That's not right. So it really is all about your mindset, thinking differently, and what do you want your life to look like.
That's beautiful. And, you know, I have a stepson, and he was also in prison. He was involved in the gangs, and I'm going back many, many years ago in the California gangs, the Crypt. And I remember when he came out of prison and he said, all I want to do is change my life. I want to be on the straight and narrow path. And I said, I love that, and I'm here for you 110% because I believe that everybody can change. I know that for a fact. And when he got out, the first thing he asked, which is what you just mentioned, I want a gun and I want to sleep with the gun. And I said, now, why would you want to do that if you're trying to change? And he said, because it's my security. I feel safe with that. So I said to him, and I said, but wouldn't it be better to change your address? Yeah. So, and today I'm very proud of him. He has a beautiful family. He has a wonderful job. He's living in society without a gun under his pillow.
Right.
And it took time. It takes a lot of time because they have that mindset. And again, it's all a matter of, do you also suggest that they start reading or listening to self-help, personal development audios to understand that they really, truly have greatness within? And that's from our wonderful Mr. Les Brown. Do you do that as well?
So I'm here laughing like crazy because when I was in solitary confinement, I only was allowed to have 2 books. And I'm a reader at heart. I can read a book in a day. And so I truly believe that that's what saved me. One of the books I was allowed to have was a Bible. And, you know, no matter what your faith is, the important thing is to have some kind of faith, to believe in a higher power. And so reading, you know, you can change your whole life just by reading 30 minutes a day. And to all those people who want to have guns, I'm like, pick up a book, read to yourself, read to your kids. It makes the world of difference. So yes, reading, I'm huge on reading.
I like that. And I also share with a lot of my clients that came from a troubled past, especially when they're parents, is that don't you want to raise your children believing in something better than what your past was and where it led you? Don't you want your children to believe that there's something that, don't you want to become a positive mentor in their life and say, my parents had this background and look at them now. They're my mentors. They're my everything. Wouldn't you rather your children, your nieces, your nephews, your friends' children, to wrap themselves around that instead of following the dark path?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I meet a lot of people who want to be speakers. They have incredible stories and they always ask me, how can they get on stage? How can they, be a TEDx speaker or, a motivational speaker? And I tell them, you have to be a reader. And one of the best things that you can do to be a speaker is to read out loud. And, it's funny, we have all these apps on our phone, voice to text, things like that. I tell them, if you can read out loud clearly so that your app on your phone can get what you're reading and, translate it correctly, then you know that the audience will understand them. A lot of times we tend to mumble when we're speaking, drop the endings of our words. I'm like, pick up a book and read. Read out loud. So, yes, that's another thing I always give to people who want to be professional speakers.
Yes, and because you and I are professional speakers, we understand this, and I want to go out to my people that are dyslexic, like I am. Sometimes it's hard to read, but you have audio books. People say they don't have enough money to go buy the books. Go to the library. You don't even have to leave your home. You could just put on YouTube. There's so many different ways to be able to enrich your lives to become everything and more. And you and I both know, because we're in the speaking industry, that you can't just want it. You just can't just want it.
Yes, you have to practice. You have to practice.
Yeah, you have to practice, and you have to put yourself in the right playgrounds. You have to change a lot of things in your life to make a big difference in life. You can't just stay where you are and expect change to find you.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're down here in the South Florida area. I love that. And I am sure that you have clients that are in other areas of the United States and the world, because you are fabulous. When you were recommended to me to be on my TV show, as soon as somebody is recommended that I really need to have them on my show, I go ahead and I research them, and I fell in love with you. I resonated with you, and I said, this woman's going to make a change, and I need to help her get her voice out there. And that's exactly what I want to do. So I want you to continue sharing, CeCe, everything that you want to help other people rise to the top of their game.
All right. So that's a tough one. Okay. So to start off a little bit in the beginning, when I came home from prison, I didn't want to have to tell the story that I just told, that I was in prison. It would just rip me apart every time that I had to tell that story. So what I did was I started my own business. And for everybody who's out there and they're struggling and, they can't get past their story, I always recommend start your own business. If you're having trouble finding a job, start your own business. And that has carried me through, for over 12 years, since I've had my own business. And now when I have clients, I get to tell them my story in my own way. But what it also did was it gave me the freedom that I can go into the prisons and I can go into the drug rehab centers and encourage others and show them that there's hope. So that's kind of what I do.
I like that. What was your first business?
Photography.
Photography?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
How long have you been a photographer?
I think I was born with a camera in my hand. But it was about 1997, maybe 99, when I started my photography business. Yes. And I've never looked back since, I've worked here and there, but I have not worked for anybody since, I think, maybe 2008. Yeah, I've been self-employed since 2008. Yeah.
So what you just shared with everybody is that there's a purpose within them, and there is passion, and they already have it within them. They just need to step into it, just like you did. You recognized it. You just said it. You think you were born with the camera in your hands, and then as soon as you saw that there was, there was the only thing that you could think of to making money and to getting back into society was to bring back your passion. And
yes.
You did it. through
Right.
photography. So thank you. Tell me about the book or books that you have written. Tell me about those, because you're also an author.
Right. So the way I started writing, I started speaking, was that most of my clients are business owners who are speakers and authors. And so you know what they say, if you've got 9 friends that are speakers and authors, you'll be the 10th one. And just in being around everybody, they would say to me, CeCe, what's your story? You know, you just come in with your camera, you do your thing, and then you leave. So when I finally started opening up about my story and my background, they were like, girl, you know, you need to tell everybody. And I was like, no, not really. This is not polite dinner conversation. But when I felt comfortable enough, I started telling a few friends and then just letting the word get out. And so many people were calling me, asking me, you know, how can they get their records sealed, expunged, or pardoned, that I actually wrote it. I actually had to start writing down the answers and then just telling people like, hey, I'll send you the PDF, I'll send you the ebook. And from that, it became an actual book. So that was my path.
That's crazy. That is such a beautiful story. And what I have found, because I'm author of many books as well, that when you are ready, and you have to be ready, just like you were ready to step into your story, to allow it to be heard, it sets you free, doesn't it?
Yes.
It sets you free. And I remember one time I had my daughter on the show, and she was a cutter. And she never told her story, ever. And I didn't want her to say anything that she didn't want to say. And that day that she was on my show, this was probably about 2 years ago, she shared it. As a matter of fact, I was shocked. I almost fell off my chair that she shared it.
Wow.
When the show was over, she said, Mom, I feel like weights have been lifted off my shoulder. And I said, that's exactly what happens. And I was so proud of her. And we're very proud of our audience, because we all have stories within us. What is your story? And when you're ready to share it, that's when the poison is released from your body. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. You know, our the mess that we are going through, it's when we tell it, it helps somebody else. You know, and then we realize that, hey, we're not alone. So that's why I really believe we're here, to share our mess.
I think so too, because I know that every time that I either speak on stages or somebody is attending my workshops or it's my client, they're like, you've made such a difference. You allowed me to walk out of my own shell. That's the greatest gift. That's the reason that we do what we do. And then all of a sudden I say to them, I can't wait to watch you shine. When are you ready to turn on your flashlight? And then like, oh my God, I'm turning it on right now. I said, good. How do I write a book? Once upon a time.
Right, absolutely. You know, one word at a time, just write. When I write, I do like a brain dump. I just get everything out. And then afterwards, I go back and clean it up. And then send it to the editor, right? But I just get everything out. It just has to get from up here onto the paper, right? And
you know, it's really funny, CeCe, and I share this with everybody. The books that I have written in, my personal books, they're my journey. So they were easy for me to write. It was once upon a time, and I just went with the flow, and I would write just like you just shared. You go back, you take things out, and then you send it to the editor, and it goes from there. It's not like you're doing a medical research where you have got to do all of this research and all of this marketing analysis. When it is your story, you could write it. The only thing that was said to me that made perfectly good sense was, whatever you're writing will be in print forever.
Yeah.
So make sure that whenever you're writing, you are really, really good with it. So I believe in being the kind of writer to give the world enough to know that I understand what they're going through. And sometimes it's not necessary to let them know everything.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
You know, absolutely, absolutely. one of the things that happened with me was my grandson at the time, he was getting ready to start learning to drive. And I knew that he would be out, in the public without me. And I didn't want somebody to tell him my story before I told him. And so I wrote this letter. I sent it to a psychologist. I was like, am I going to damage this child if I tell him this stuff? And they were like, no, go ahead and tell him. And so we're driving up to Orlando from down here in South Florida, and we pass a prison. And so I just very casually say, hey, do you know what that is? And he goes, no. And I said, well, it's a prison. Did you know I had been to prison? And he goes, no. And he just stops, and he's driving, and we drive a couple more minutes. And he looks at me, he goes, are you planning on going back? I go, no. And he goes, oh, okay. That was the entire conversation. And now when I look back at it, I'm amazed, because that was the impetus for the book of me coming clean. I was like, had I known it was going to be such a simple conversation between us, I would not have done any of this stuff. I would not have gone public. I would have just told him, and that would have been it. But
right.
He's totally okay with it. His main concern was I going to go back and leave him?
Aww.
Yeah.
We're so quick to prejudge. We are so quick to prejudge. That's like the devil standing in front of us. Don't do that. Don't do this. Shouldn't do this. And meanwhile, we just got to knock that, that devil, that disguise out of the way to realize that we have to believe in other people. Your grandson sounds like a very strong individual who is never going to go down that path and appreciates who you are because of what you've gone through. Right,
yes. And I'm so incredibly grateful to him for just being understanding, because I was terrified to have that conversation with him. But you know what? That's what the devil wants, is just to be afraid. And sometimes we just have to face our fears.
Absolutely. We always have to face our fears. We just have to understand how to face the fears. There's a difference. And, that's one of the things that I absolutely love help people do is to face the fear. But there's a way to face the fear so you're not harming yourself or others along the journey. But we all have a journey. My God, when you listen to stories of greatness, we all have a past. We all have a story. If you could give a few clues for the people that are watching this, maybe it's not them, maybe it's a family member or a friend of a friend that's having this challenge of the dark past. Can you give, because believe it or not, we're going to start coming to a close here, CeCe. I know, it's crazy. It's the quickest 27 minutes of our lives. Give some clues on what can be the aha moments, because the one thing that really eats me up alive is hearing, well, I'm just going to live off the system. I'm going to just collect welfare. I'm just going to hide in a hole. And that is not the answer. That is no way to live, and it is no way to allow the government to dictate your future. So can you share some happy tips with the others of just get off the couch?
So I heard this the other day, that the couch is our comfort zone, and nothing good happens in the comfort zone. Your pillow is like procrastination, and your blanket serves absolutely no purpose. So you want to get off the couch, you want to put away procrastination, and you want to step into the excitement zone. And the way to do that is to figure out, what do you want? How would you live your life? And journal. Along with reading goes writing. And if you can journal and figure out what you want and step out of the comfort zone, hey, the magic happens in the excitement zone.
Oh, wow. Not only that, but start believing in yourself by either reading or listening to audios, participating in powerful events that are in your area, get out of your old playground and step into new playgrounds. So if you live in Miami, come on into Fort Lauderdale. If you're in Fort Lauderdale, then go on into Palm Beach. Go and go with the people that you want to be more like. And I know that's how I have grown in my life. I'm always parking myself in really great places. And CeCe, this is exactly why you and I have been introduced, because we are playing in the same playground and beyond. You are delicious. You're delicious.
Thank you. And you're such a pleasure. And of course, you researched me. I did a little research of my own. I checked you out too.
You see, you always got to check each other out. Well, CeCe, we are coming to a close. How do people get a hold of you?
They can reach me through my website, which is cecethephotographer.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So just find me on any of those social media platforms.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, when you are ready to step into your own, CeCe and I will always be here for you, because there is nothing better than to own your future. We never said life was easy, but we did say that you can be happier. Remember, you were born to shine, and you're to hold your own flashlight. So with that, everybody, God bless you. Get in touch with CeCe. Get in touch with me so you can have a bigger, brighter tomorrow. Bye, everybody.